In this example, we want to create an equation of a line through 2 points, -2, -1, and 0, 5. So just a quick sketch of what that might look like. So -2, -1 would be right here, and then 0, 5, let's just call it right there. So what we want to do is we want to create an equation for this line. Now, now there's a couple different ways you can go about doing this. Luckily, in this one, we have a y-intercept actually. We have a y-intercept because remember, we want to get it into the form of y equals mx plus b, and where b is the y-intercept, this rarely happens where we get an example where we actually are given the y-intercept. So we don't necessarily need to use point slope from here because we have a y-intercept, but what we do still need the slope, and there's two different ways of getting the slope. You can either just count it on a graph, which I didn't really create a very accurate graph, so I don't have a grid in front of me. So I probably won't do that method. I'll just use the slope formula. The slope formula is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. The change in your vertical distance, and then divided by the change in your horizontal distance. So change in y's over the change of x, that will determine our slope. So I'm just going to go with that route. And if you had a graph, like a grid in front of you, and you actually accurately graph this, then it would probably just be pretty easy to just go count some units, like up however many, over however many. That's probably pretty straightforward, but I don't trust my little sketch here, so I'm just going to go ahead with the algebraic approach of just calculating it out. So this is my x1, y1, this is my x2, y2. So here we go. y2 is 5 minus y1, so 5 minus the -1, over x2, which is 0, minus the x1, so 0 minus -2. So on the top, we have 5 minus -1, which is going to be 5 plus 1. Minus the -1 is 5 plus 1. Then 0 minus the -2 is going to be 0 plus 2. Be careful with the 0. Sometimes people just think it's 0, so like rules don't apply to 0, but it does. It's 0 minus -2, not 0 minus 2. Sometimes people will just do 0 minus 2 right as -2 because they think 0 is like this weird break in rules, but it's really not. And also another thing I want to point out, y2 minus y1, x2 minus x1. Notice these x and y's, this x1 and y1, they're both negative. So I wrote it as 5 minus a -1, 0 minus a -2. It's another huge common mistake that I see is people writing this just as, oh, it's going to be 5 minus 1 because it's already negative. It's going to be 5 minus 1. It's -1. No, it's 5 minus a -1. So you got to think about it as y2 minus whatever the y1 is. y2 minus the y1. So if the y1's negative, it's minus the negative. If the y1's positive, it's 5 minus the positive. So getting back on track here, 5 plus 1 is 6. 0 plus 2 is 2. 6 divided by 2 is 3. And you can write this as 3 over 1 or just leave it as 3. There's our slope. And like I said, we have the y-intercept already. This is a y-intercept. 0, 5 is a y-intercept. So I can just go ahead and just write this as y equals 3x plus 5. I don't even need to use point slope. If this wasn't a y-intercept, then I would need to use point slope. But luckily, they gave us a y-intercept, so I like that. And we're done here. No need to reinvent the wheel when we don't need to. It's done.